From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Tuesday night on News Channel 5 Plus. We're going to talk some racing coming up on the show tonight. The All-American 400 32nd Annual will be this weekend over at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Tony Formosa will join me here in just a few moments to talk about everything going on out there, from the racing to the extra activities. It's going to be a big weekend. If you are a race fan, you do not want to miss it. That is for sure. First, update you on some other things going on. The Titans, obviously, with a day off today, they get back on the field tomorrow in preparation for that big AFC South showdown against the Texans coming up Sunday. Noon kickoff over on News Channel 5. You can catch all the action there, as you can most Sundays throughout the regular season. Titans desperately need a win after losing 2 of their first 3 games. Both games were games that were winnable. Just too many mistakes, too many turnovers really cost them. And so now they go down to Houston to take on one of the best defenses in the league. An offense that maybe still hasn't completely found an identity with Brock Osweiler as the quarterback, but we'll see what the Titans can do there. This has not been a place that has been friendly to them in recent years, and the Titans need Marcus Mariota to play much better than he has so far this season. He's got 6 turnovers already this year to just 4 touchdowns after having a 19-10 touchdown to interception ratio last season. So they need him to be more efficient. They need him to make bigger plays, and most importantly, hold on to the football to match up with DeMarco Murray, who's been a star for this team so far in the running game. He's also the leading receiver on the team, leads the team in touchdowns as well. He's been outstanding. They just need that passing game to step up. And it'll be also to be interesting to see how the Titans defense matches up against that Texans defense that has been so good. The Titans defense has been pretty good to this point too, allowing just 3 touchdowns through 3 games. So that obviously will be the test to keep that going and really control the game down there in Houston this weekend. College football, Tennessee and Georgia coming up on Saturday. Huge opportunity for the Vols coming off that big win against Florida. The offense finally got going. Was that it? Is that Tennessee now? Have they figured it out and kind of gotten over the hump? We'll find out between the hedges. This is oftentimes a difficult game. Last year, Tennessee with the huge come-from-behind win against the Bulldogs. This year, the win puts Tennessee squarely in the driver's seat in the SEC East and on the road to Atlanta for an SEC championship game appearance. We'll see if they can bounce back and handle the success. That offense did finally get going. They looked like a confident bunch by the end of that game against Florida. Georgia's wounded. They're going to be ready. Are they good enough to slow down Tennessee, though? That's the question heading into that game on Saturday in Athens. Meanwhile, the Gators come here to Nashville a week after being in Knoxville. Now they face Vanderbilt. Similar question for the Commodores. You get that huge drive from Kyle Shermer and company last week with the game on the line. Down 7, ball at your own 25, minute 2 to go. And the young quarterback leads you down the field, 7 plays, 75 yards, touchdown, sends the game to overtime. The offense able to score again. Defense gives up a touchdown, but comes up with a huge stop on Western Kentucky's 2-point conversion try to get the win. Now all of a sudden, Derek Mason's team 2-2 at the end of September for the first time during his 3-year tenure on West End. And they've got a level of confidence after winning that game as they head into the big chunk of SEC play remaining on the schedule. The open obviously with South Carolina, but now all but 1 game for the rest of the season is in SEC play. The Commodores feel they are ready. They're going to have to be ready against a Florida team that has one of the best defenses in the country, and you have to imagine will be hopping mad coming to town on Saturday after the way they let that game in Knoxville get away from them. Middle Tennessee heads to North Texas this week. try to keep things going in Conference USA play. And Tennessee State officially announcing Ronald Butler will be the starting quarterback in all likelihood for the rest of the season. O'Shea Ackerman-Carter, the starter, out for the rest of the year with torn ACL. Butler, once again, as he has done so often throughout his career at TSU, comes off the bench and now has the team under his control. He's done it very well for 3 seasons. Served well in that role a couple weeks ago in the win at Bethune-Cookman. Now it's his team for the rest of the year. The Tigers are unbeaten. Can Butler do the job to keep TSU going and get them in the OVC race, potentially a playoff picture as well at the end of the season? We will find out. They've got UT Martin coming to the town on Saturday. Big weekend of college football, big weekend of the NFL. We'll, of course, keep you covered on that all throughout the week. But tonight we're going to talk some racing. Once again, the 32nd annual All-American 400 coming up at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway this weekend. We are happy to welcome in my dear friend Tony Formosa, track promoter from Fairgrounds Speedway. Great to have you back on the program.
Great to be back here. Always is a pleasure to be on the show. You got a great show and got a great fan base from the track too. Everybody watches your show, so
well, that's good.
Yeah, a lot of history. You know, this is the Daytona 500 of late model racing, of short track racing, and this is the big one. And 32 consecutive years that this race has been run. The history, the names that have been involved in this, and the statistics. You've got drivers from 15 different states, and you have 2 different kinds of late models. You have the pro late models, which are going to run a 100-lap race on Sunday, and you have the super late models, which are going to run 400 laps on Sunday. So what we did, we tried a lot of different techniques on this race, and we're now going back to its roots. It's going to be a true 400-lap race with live pit stops, and it's really showing a lot of muscle. The best names and late model racing, they're coming, and we have a lot of local guys that are going to challenge the out-of-town guys, and there's just the weather's going to be great. Finally, you're going to get the right one. After 5 races of rain, it's going to be 70 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. So it's going to be a great day for racing, an entire weekend for racing. We're going to start off and run our local cars, on Friday and on Saturday. We're going to practice and qualify on Friday, and then race them on Saturday, and then we're going to roll right into Sunday and run the big race. So. It's going to be a great race, and it's presented by Freeman and Webb Company. The first time since I've been the promoter at the Speedway that we had a major sponsor for this national event.
That's awesome. When people think of Fairgrounds Speedway, it's the hotbed. It's the cradle of race car drivers. When you talk about short track racing, it may be the preeminent short track in the country. And this is the preeminent race at the fairgrounds, right? This is the race that when people think of Fairgrounds Speedway, they think about the All-American 400.
They do. And I did a radio show last night, and it was a subject on the show. We talked about for so many years there were so many people that came to compete in this race, like Rusty Wallace and Darrell Waltrip and Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt, and I can just go, the list of names goes on and on and on and on and on. And it was in its glory days. It was the best of the northern drivers and the best of the southern drivers, and this was the meeting grounds right here. So it was just a perfect statistics and perfect layout for the location and the perfect track. So, but we were talking about of all the speedways, and not to mention that the Fairgrounds Speedways is the oldest active speedway in America now. There was one track, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that had the speedway beat by 2 years, and they are not active. The track is still there, but they're not active. So this is the oldest speedway in America, and I can say, out of my 43 years of competition on this track, going around and meeting all the different drivers that have come to the Fairground Speedways, there have never been one time in my entire career that I have met one person, one driver that did not want to compete at the Speedway. I mean, everybody loves it. It's just a perfect challenge between man and machine, the size, the layout, the location, the city, and everything. So our agenda is to pack the house and bring this race back to its original roots and make it the Daytona 500 of late model racing again. You've got super late models, and you got pro late models, and they're basically the same cars. You can't really tell the difference in them, but the super late model cars are 600 horsepower and the pro late model cars are 500 horsepower. That's really the only difference. So you're going to see cars that are much faster than what you normally see on a regular Saturday night at the Fairground Speedways. They're almost an entire second faster. So, and it's going to be the best of the best, the best of the best. I'm going to give you a rundown on some of the guys that are here in the states that they came from. And you've got some of our guys that are going to run both races. So they're going to be doing 500 laps of duty on Sunday.
Yeah, that's going to test those guys for sure. You talk about how this used to be the meeting points for sort of drivers from the South, drivers from the North. 15 states represented in the car sheet coming up to this weekend. It sounds like you're getting back to that.
Well, we are, and you know, we've tried some different scenarios to this race, and one of the things that makes it so unique for the teams, we have done a different ordeal this year on the pit stops, to where we will have controlled pit stops, because it's so expensive to bring a crew in, and a lot of races have been won in the pits. You know, this guy's he rents Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit crew, and they come in and they're lightning fast in the pits. This will give everyone a chance to be able to compete equally, not only in the pits but on the speedway. So,
for those who don't know, explain the controlled pit stop.
Well, a controlled pit stop will be every so often, but somewhere between lap 70 and lap 100, we will throw a mandatory caution and let the cars come in and change their tires and gas their cars up. There'll be no way that they can go a lap down or whatever. They'll also exit the track in the same order that they came into the track. So it's going to be really good. Everyone will be able to run 400 laps in direct, all-out competition. You won't have to worry about going a lap down or not being able to have the fastest tire change or whatnot. It's brought to a lot of people's attention, and this is just something that we have come up with. Ricky Brooks, my head tech inspector, and myself, and there was an ARCA promoter that had done this in the past, and it really makes it to where people can come and compete and do their best on the track and not have to worry about going a lap down or losing position in the pits.
Sure.
So
pits make the difference. We see it all the time in the Sprint Cup races.
Exactly.
A guy has a great pit stop or a guy has a bad pit stop, and that can make all the difference.
Exactly.
When you're talking about this level, I'm sure that's even more so the case.
Well, and the more affordable you can make it for the teams, the more teams you have.
Right.
And they're competing for, a guy can come in here and win this race and walk away with close to 30 grand. There's a lot of lap money up for grab. We have put money on almost every lap of the race. So a guy wants to try to win the race. The more laps he leads, that's just bonus money that's applied. So that makes it really neat too. You see guys that don't sit back there and ride. Everybody's going to be charging and racing as hard as they can for 400 laps.
A lot on the line this weekend at Fairground Speedway. We've got much more to discuss on the program. We're just getting started. If you'd like to get on, ask Tony a question, maybe talk about this weekend's race, our phone lines are open. 737-7767 is the number. We'll be back to talk more about the All-American 400. The SportsLine continues right here on News Channel 5+.